The Journey to Mastering English, Jack's Story. Jack Turner was an ordinary young man living in the quiet countryside of northern England. He grew up in a small town where everyone spoke with a familiar local accent, and the pace of life was slow and peaceful. Jack always dreamed of doing something big, something that would take him beyond the borders of his town. He dreamed of traveling, seeing the world, and making a real impact in the world of technology. However, there was one challenge that Jack couldn't shake off: his struggle with English. Despite being a native speaker, Jack always felt like he was falling short. You see, Jack didn't have the strongest command of the language. His grammar was shaky, his vocabulary limited, and he had a tendency to mix up certain words when speaking. As much as he loved reading and learning, when it came to speaking English fluently, he felt self-conscious. Jack had always been a quiet person. He kept to himself in social situations and avoided speaking in public whenever possible. His shyness was compounded by the fact that he often found himself stumbling over his words when talking to others. He watched as his friends and colleagues effortlessly conversed, using complex vocabulary and flawless grammar, while he struggled to keep up with even basic conversations. One day, Jack attended a seminar at his university about career opportunities in the field of technology. The speaker was a well-respected software engineer who had worked at several global companies. As the speaker discussed the many exciting opportunities available to tech professionals, Jack couldn't help but feel a pang of envy. To really make it in this industry, the speaker said, you need to be able to communicate effectively. And that means speaking English fluently. It's the universal language of the tech world. Jack's heart sank. He had always wanted to pursue a career in technology, but he knew that his lack of English skills was holding him back. He realized that if he wanted to achieve his dreams, he needed to work on his English. It was no longer just about passing exams or writing papers, it was about creating a future for himself. That night, Jack lay in bed, thinking about the speaker's words. He felt a mix of determination and fear. Could he really learn to speak English fluently? Could he overcome his insecurities? The next morning, Jack made a decision: he would dedicate himself to improving his English, no matter how hard it might be. Jack knew that the key to improvement was consistency. He couldn't expect to become fluent overnight. He had to take small steps, one day at a time. So, he created a plan. He decided to practice English for at least an hour every day. He would start with simple activities like listening to English podcasts, reading books in English, and watching TV shows with English subtitles. He would also try to speak English with his friends, even if he felt nervous about making mistakes. The first few days were difficult. Jack often felt frustrated. He would listen to a podcast and only understand a few words. He would read a book and have to look up nearly every other word. Speaking English felt like a battle. His tongue would trip over the simplest of sentences, and he would find himself getting stuck on basic words. It was disheartening, but Jack knew he had to keep going. He reminded himself that improvement didn't happen overnight, it was a journey. A few weeks into his new routine, Jack started to notice small improvements. He could understand more of the podcasts, and reading books became easier. Speaking in English, though still difficult, felt a little less intimidating. He began to feel more comfortable expressing himself, even if his sentences weren't perfect. One day, Jack's friend Tom invited him to join a local English conversation group that met every week. Tom knew that Jack was trying to improve his speaking skills, and he thought the group would be a good opportunity for him to practice in a supportive environment. At first, Jack was hesitant. The thought of speaking English in front of others made him nervous. What if he made a mistake? What if they laughed at him? But Tom reassured him, saying, "Don't worry, Jack. Everyone is here to learn, and no one will judge you." So, with a deep breath, Jack decided to join the conversation group. When he walked into the room, he was greeted by a group of friendly faces. They were all from different backgrounds, some were native speakers, while others were learning English as a second language. The group's facilitator, a woman named Lisa, made everyone feel comfortable by encouraging them to speak freely and not worry about making mistakes. As the conversation began, Jack felt his nerves start to settle. He was surprised to find that he understood most of what people were saying. When it was his turn to speak, his heart raced, but he pushed through. He stumbled over a few words, but Lisa gave him a reassuring smile and encouraged him to keep going. Jack could feel the support of the group, and it gave him the confidence to keep speaking. The more Jack attended the conversation group, the more his speaking improved. At first, he would speak in short, simple sentences, but gradually, he began to speak more fluidly. He learned new vocabulary and idiomatic expressions, and he started to notice his pronunciation improving as well. Over time, Jack became one of the most active participants in the group, eagerly engaging in discussions and even leading some of the conversations. One day, during a meeting, Lisa said something that stuck with Jack: "The key to mastering any language is practice. You won't become fluent by avoiding speaking, it's the mistakes you make that help you grow." Jack took these words to heart. He realized that he had been so focused on being perfect that he had been holding himself back. He started to embrace his mistakes as part of the learning process. Instead of feeling embarrassed when he made a mistake, he would laugh it off and continue. His attitude shifted from fear to excitement. He was no longer afraid of speaking, he was eager to learn and improve. A few months later, Jack was presented with an opportunity that would change his life. He had applied for an internship at a major tech company, and after a series of interviews, he was selected for the position. The final interview, however, was conducted entirely in English. The day of the interview, Jack felt nervous but prepared. He had worked hard on his speaking skills, and he knew that this was his chance to prove himself. As the interview began, Jack took a deep breath and reminded himself to stay calm. The interviewer, a senior software engineer named Rachel, asked him about his technical skills and previous experience. At first, Jack stumbled a bit. He had to pause a few times to find the right words, but Rachel was patient and encouraging. As the interview went on, Jack's confidence grew. He was able to express himself clearly, and he felt proud of how far he had come. By the end of the interview, Rachel smiled and said, "Jack, you did a great job. We're impressed with your skills and your ability to communicate effectively in English. Welcome to the team." Jack's heart soared. He had done it. His hard work, dedication, and determination had paid off. He had overcome his fear of speaking English and had landed the internship he had always dreamed of. In the following months, Jack continued to improve his English skills. He worked with his colleagues, participated in team meetings, and continued to practice speaking every day. He realized that learning a language was a lifelong journey, and even though he had come a long way, there was always room for growth. Jack's story is a testament to the power of perseverance. It's a reminder that no matter how daunting a challenge may seem, with consistent effort and the willingness to make mistakes, anyone can achieve their goals. Jack may have started his journey with fear and doubt, but through practice and determination, he not only became fluent in English but also gained the confidence to pursue his dreams. If Jack can do it, so can you. The road to mastering English may be long, but with each step you take, you'll get closer to your goal. Don't be afraid to speak, don't be afraid to make mistakes, and most importantly, don't give up. Your journey to fluency is waiting, and it starts with the first step.